Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AskReddit. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. What was the creepiest thing someone said on the first date? I love Asian girls, they remind me of children. That isn't a red flag, that's a red banner. This is a secret fear of mine. I'm not Asian, but the same size as a stereotypical tiny Asian girl. A girl once said to me that any man attracted to you is probably a pedo, because you're the size of a kid, and now that's always in the back of my mind. Thanks a lot, Bree, thanks a lot. Mid-date he placed his hand on my stomach and said my son will grow here. Fuck that. Did you date Henry VIII? Called their mom in front of me to say they met a real winner, and how they were done with their ex. Not sure if this counts, but it was really uncomfortable. That happened on a first date? Wow, that sounds incredibly awkward. Eek, way too much pressure too soon. I told this guy I played the piano, and like half an hour later he said, if I wanted you to always remember me, I'd break your ring fingers. You know, 'cause they don't heal well, and then you'd always think of me when playing. Suffice to say, I left the restaurant fairly quickly. Good God, what a horrific thought to have, and then to decide it was a good idea to vocalize that. I hope you never had the misfortune of seeing him again. WTF, who thinks of stuff like that? Friend told me the guy not only asked for a selfie, but posted on Facebook with the caption "My Queen." First time meeting. Jon Snow's at it again. He wanted to go for a walk at the park with me at 4 a.m, so when I said no he said, "Don't worry. I won't rape you," and gave me a twisted smile. I'm just gonna assume the second date was not granted. Phew, I thought he was going rape you until I heard that assuring second sentence. I invited my ex to join us for lunch. WTF? And did the ex show up? Prince Charles? He was in the military, Canadian. I asked him if he ever did any volunteer work overseas with the military, and he said, no. I joined the military to kill people, not to help people. Chugged my beer and got out of there as fast as I could. That sounds like the kind of guy who would get a dishonorable discharge as soon he left boot camp, and then would brag how he's a veteran flashing his obviously fake medals. The killers who actually join up to kill people don't share it around like that. This guy probably gets his ass beat by his own squad. I want you to carve your initials on my thigh with a knife. She was very serious. Well, how else are you supposed to carve your initials on her thigh? I had a crazy chick do that once because she wanted to prove we were best friends. We weren't. She was psychotic and I had to call the cops on her at one point. I sometimes wonder if my name is still etched into her leg 15 years on. She was driving us back home from the restaurant and started saying things like, you know, you're in my car now, I technically can take you wherever I want. You're like my prisoner. I laughed the first time she mentioned it because I'm into dark humor, but when she kept going on with it, little did she know once I got out of the car that would be the last time she'd ever see me. Well, it was the last time you saw her. I had a bus driver make a similar joke when it was just him and I on the bus. I was not amused. He told me he could rape me if he wanted. He wasn't joking. My ex would tell me this all the time. Had a similar situation. Said he would rape me if he got me alone. Obviously didn't go on another date with him. Look, this has to go well. Both of my brother's wives are pregnant with their second children. Do not let me down. Said to me within 3 minutes of sitting down. Could it have been a joke? The words read like a joke, but I guess it's all in the delivery. Showed me a long list on her phone of, if I can guess without exaggeration, at least 60 to 70 baby names for when she has a kid, and joked about having baby fever. They were all really country bumpkin names like Brecken and Gatlin too, which somehow made it more unpalatable for me. I don't blame you for breaking up with her. Those are two of the worst names I've ever heard for the first time. Went out with a girl one night and after dinner she drove me up into the mountains. I was new to the area, and after a while, when there were no more lights, she started talking about serial killers. I still remember her saying I used to think about getting away with stuff like that sometimes. Dude, same happened to me. We went to eat then took a walk at the reservoir, and she started talking about serial killers, and how it would be a good spot for a body, then proceeded to talk about this movie where there was a killer ghost STD, or something, haha. Went to school with her and asked her out on a date. She's not crazy or anything, but I'm not into that, and it was a first date. TBF, thinking about outsmarting systems can be interesting to think through, but it's not something you talk about with people who you don't know well. Can I cut you and drink it? She was serious. No, not before the third date. This is a nice place, I've seen you eating here before. This can be fairly casual to super creepy, entirely depending on tone and context though. I just really like mustard, as she continues. Suck mustard packets. Worst part, we were at a somewhat nice restaurant. She brought mustard to eat. Must remember to pack mustard in case of a bad date. Purse-sized escape plan with minimal chance of stalking. Not what he said but what he did. He fucking stole my keys while I was out of the room and took off into the night. We had an hours-long standoff where he wouldn't answer my calls or texts begging him to return them. I stood by his truck that was parked a few blocks away making sure that he didn't leave with them. Eventually he dropped them off in my car, and I got a ride home from the cops. Honestly, one of the scariest episodes of my life. Dude, WTF. But why? Did they give a reason? It wasn't something that someone said, but he stole my credit card out of my purse when I wasn't looking. Luckily on the way home I stopped for coffee and noticed it was missing. Froze the account that second. Described in detail how his female commanding officer liked sex with him so much she raped him repeatedly while he was in the army. He said it with so much pride that it seemed as though it was meant to impress me. Oh, you're so hot I bet women rape you repeatedly. Said no woman ever. My son is gonna love having you around. Lady, we talked twice on Tinder and I've only known you for 5 minutes. Ease up on the stepdaddy talk. Full disclosure, not long after I met a nice woman with 3 children, I adopted all 3 not long after we married. I met her on Tinder. I think that means the first lady was correct. This guy wasn't talking at all, and I only brought a few talking points cause normally they talk the whole time. I didn't have anything else to say and asked him to start talking, and he said, "What I want to talk about can't be said in public." When I ended the date he thought we were going to go to my place to talk and I said no. I got in my car, noted what car he got into, and took a few breaths to calm down. I looked around and his car was still there. I waited 30 minutes before he left the parking lot and stayed another 15 before I left. You never know, maybe he was gonna tell you about his superhero alter ego/S. But seriously, that is a red banner, and whoever he is, I'm glad you dodged that bullet. Went on a Tinder date to the movies when I was 18. He picked me up in his truck and played terrible loud depressing music. In the theater, he was on his phone swiping on Tinder the whole time, then leaned over and told me that I was lucky to be out with him because all these other girls wanted to be with him. Yikes. My roommate picked me up when I excused myself to the bathroom. So glad you escaped. Weirdo. When we get married I can wear this dress. First date, went back to her place, and while giving me the tour she pulled a beautiful wedding dress out of a closet and said this to me while holding it up to her body. "You called it beautiful. You noticed. You noticed the dress. You're the one, it's meant to be." LMAO WTF. How did you react to that? We would have cute babies, or my personal favorite for Halloween, we could go as a slave and master, haha. Get it? Because you're black? Haha. Wow, that second one really puts an even worse twist on the first one. Slave and master. Oh, kinky. Because you're black. Wow. A one-night stand once told me I smelt like his mom. At least it was smell and not taste. No, he said you smelt like momum. It's a very rare flower that is much beloved for its scent. You've actually been talking to my mother. I'm not very good at things like this. We had sexed. I would simply pass away. This one actually made me laugh out loud. Horrifying and hilarious. This is not my story, but my mother's. My mom was a pioneer in online dating. She was really interested in finding someone special. She agreed to meet a guy for dinner, first mistake, and went in to be seated prior to him arriving. He came in, the waitress brought menus and he set down his menu and the first words he spoke were asking my mom if she has ever known anyone who had a penis enlargement. He then went on to explain that he had flown cross-county for this operation, and it had gone wrong. He went into great specifics about just how wrong. My mother excused herself to the ladies' room and left out the back door. We still laugh out loud when she reminds us of her search for Mr. Right. Okay, but I now need to know what went wrong, and how wrong it went. He's just talking on the phone and inserts, "It's not like I want to rape you or anything." He tried to contact me for a face-to-face date. I don't respond. He shows up to my office on a campus, starts raging, and gets security called on him and escorted off. Within knowing each other about an hour he told me he had never wanted kids before, but the moment we met he felt it biologically. Then he told me he wanted to be my son's stepfather as well. I felt something reading that. After getting us lost on the way back to my friend's house, late at night, in a state I was only visiting. "What, do you think I'm going to take you out into the woods and rape you, lol?" He had a loaded gun rack in his truck, and a knife on his belt. I was 15. It was not funny. "Better lock it down now, huh? Well, you're ripe for the taking." Referring to my low self-esteem that he picked up on. "I really hope you ran away. Anyone can do better than that, love. You look just like my sister," and later in the date he admitted that's something he liked about me. Needless to say, no second date with Jamie Lannister. I was Joan of Arc in my former life. I want to tear you apart. And your friend too. Kind of a toss-up, imho. I would 100% have sex with a reincarnation of Joan of Arc. I have a relative in banking. I have checked out all of your family financially. WTF, what do you say to that? I checked out of this date. CYA bitch. Oh, I can answer this one. A few months ago I matched with a guy on Tinder and things seemed to be going well over chat, so we ended up meeting for a date. As soon as we met I had a bad feeling about him. Not as in he was a creep, but I just had a vibe we weren't going to progress further. He seemed a bit off and not as friendly as he appeared online. I thought I might as well have a meal and chalk this down to experience if this doesn't pan out. Anyway, during the course of the meal alarm bells began to go off when he started referring to woman as stupid and pointless and only good for one thing. I began to get really uncomfortable and was trying to think of a good excuse to leave. Of course I got naturally defensive and said talking about woman like that was derogatory, and then he started to complain that there was vegetables in his burger referring to the lettuce and proceeded to pick it out calling the waitress who took our order a dumb bitch, because he specifically said no vegetables in his meal. Anyway, said lettuce ended up landing in my handbag, which completely pissed me off, and I finally said that I had to go because honestly at that point I felt like shoving the lettuce in his fat misogynist arsehole face. To say I ran as fast I could to my car is an understatement. Luckily, I got to the restaurant before we met up and so he didn't know my parking spot. As soon as I got in my car I ended up unmatching him from Tinder and blocked his cell phone number, but later on I still received a text from another number saying, "Hey, it's *Brad from Tinder, I know pretty much all I need to know about you, so let's have sex, yes?" Like WTF. It sounded so creepy, like he was analyzing me to see if I was suitable to sleep with. And going by the way I ran off like I was on fire, and blocked him. Should have told him I wasn't interested. I didn't reply to him obviously and blocked that number. Then I get another message from another number saying cock-teasing whore and I'll see you again one day, and then I'll have my moment. That was the last thing I heard from him. Not only was he an utter cunt, but he was creepy too. And he had a face the size of a planet. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.